Hi, I'm Justine Louise. Welcome to my channel. So this is part 5 of a 5-part mini-series on the Kruger National Park and going on safari. I've been doing them on all different topics just because it is such a huge topic to cover. I thought I would break it up into sections. So my husband and I kind of went through every single detail we could think of, but of course if you think I've missed anything, feel free to ask any questions, and if I'm able to help, I definitely will pass that along. So I've covered many different things, and the last topic I want to cover is things to do in and around the Kruger Park when you're there on holiday besides safari. It is a very far away for a lot of people to travel there, and you might be interested in doing a few other things while you're there. So I just thought I would mention some stuff that you can do that is a little bit different than just typical going on a safari drive. So just a quick little recap on myself. My husband and I travel to the Kruger Park almost every year. It started off as a trip of a lifetime and it ended up being an annual trip. My husband is an ex-South African, and when we first got married, he told me about all the trips he and his family used to go there. That was their typical holiday as a kid, where North Americans tend to go to Disney and things like that. That's where they went. And I said I would love to go because I love animals so much. So we did, and I absolutely loved it. And so we've gone almost every year since, and we're going to be going again next month. So while this was all fresh in my mind, I thought I would pass along the information. Every time I mention to anybody, whether it's somebody on the street or a friend of mine, and say that we go on safari to the Kruger Park, they're just filled with questions. So I thought I should maybe put together a video for you guys, because when we first booked it, it was done through fax, and we did it through my husband's memory of everything about the park, and there wasn't a whole lot of information on the internet, whereas now the internet has kind of exploded and you can book everything online and TripAdvisor and all that. But there still might be some questions that you might have. One of the things that we found extremely helpful was on the Sanparks website. You can join the forums, and there is a multitude of topics on there, same as any forum group, and you might find answers to some of your questions there, or put out a question and there'll definitely be somebody who would answer, or at least make an attempt. So I would definitely put that as a tip as well. But so for now, I'm going to tell you about some things that we like to do when we are actually in the Kruger. So there is a lot of downtime. Sometimes that's a bit of an issue for me because I like to be really busy. I love having tons and tons of activities. That's why I love going to Las Vegas. My days are full to the brim, whereas my husband likes a lot of quiet downtime. So it's kind of sometimes a bit of a struggle for me. So we kind of meet halfway, and we try and do some little bit of activities here and there besides doing the game drives. Now we do mostly do a game drive, but we started at 4 a.m. We like to be the first at the gate, and we like to be there for sunrise. It's the best for photography, and that tends to be when a lot of the animals are out and about. In the afternoons, it tends to be too hot for them, and they go and hide inside a bush and you don't see them. So we do our game drive in the morning, and we're usually home by about 10 a.m. And we usually then have breakfast and have a snack, and we either go to the pool. Most of the rest camps have pools, or we just have a nap because we have been up since usually 3:30 in the morning, so we're pretty tired. So we tend to have a nap, and then in the afternoon we have a full afternoon free. So we have a couple of things that we like to do. As I mentioned, I like to go to the pools. We like to bring games, usually electronic games or books. And this year we're going to bring some backgammon, travel backgammon, and some checkers. And I notice a lot of people like to sit and play cards. It's just a nice relaxing atmosphere. It's nice and warm. Most of the places have verandas that are covered, so you're not in the sun and you can just sit and relax. Another thing that we like to do is just sit at the electric fence, because on the other side are animals, and some of the camps actually have the restaurants situated next to the fence, and will have a watering hole, so you'll often see many animals coming. They even have them on the Sanparks website of a webcam that's on all the watering holes, and it's quite fun to watch, especially when there's something really exciting like a hyena coming for a drink or a lion or something like that. But tends to be a lot of antelope and elephants at the Satara rest camp. At the restaurant, there's a huge watering hole right there, and there's a resident elephant who comes there every day. I think his name is Duke. I've even named him, so that's always quite fun. There is also a lot of monkeys in the camps, monkeys, vervet monkeys and baboons, and they're always so much fun to watch, but definitely keep your distance. They can be quite vicious and aggressive, especially when it comes to food, so please watch from a distance. But we've had so much fun watching the monkeys. They're quite characters, and they have a lot of personality, and they're a lot of fun to watch. So we spent many times just sitting and watching them. So that's a lot of fun. Sanparks organizes a lot of events as well. Sanparks is the rest camps, and you can book safaris through them, which we have done. Even though we bring our own vehicle and like to do our own self-drive, we do try and schedule 1 or 2 safaris through them. They have huge vehicles that are open air with a roof, which is nice so you don't get sunburnt. Sometimes when it's extremely hot and you're in an open air vehicle and no roof, you can just get frazzled. So it is nice they have a overhang and in case it's raining. And what we like about it is they go outside of gate times because they're Sanparks. They're allowed to go a little bit earlier than the regular people, and they can also stay out a lot later. And doing the night drive is really, really fun because they see when all the animals are coming out to start their hunting. And I just want to put a side note there. When I'm saying hunting, you probably think I would love to see a kill, and no, I would not. I know a lot of people love that. I have no idea why they would like to see another animal suffering. I know it's nature, but I personally like to think of a lion walking with his grocery cart through the supermarket. So let's just leave it at that. But they do come out, and they're definitely more active and walking around and looking around, and that's quite fun and exciting to see. And there's also a lot of nocturnal animals that you don't get to see in the day, like porcupines. I think the honey badger comes out at night. So there's a lot of neat animals and owls that you don't get to see in the day that only come out once the sun sets. So it's always fun to go with a safari vehicle on that. And also they give you so much information. It's not just on the animals. They tell you about different species, even down to the fauna and flora around there, insects. It's just extremely interesting. So even if you are self-driving, I highly, highly recommend doing at least 1 safari drive. They do fill up quickly, so keep that in mind. And they are rain or shine. So if you book it, you have to book it in advance, and if it ends up pouring down, you won't get your money back. So just keep that in mind. And they are very reasonably priced. So that's another thing. They don't gouge you. It's not like a luxury lodge where it's extremely expensive. They're very, very reasonable. Like I can't think right now, but I think they're about $25 per person, which I think is a great deal. $25 to drive around and have a safari and them tell you everything about it. So I highly recommend that. They also have movies in an amphitheater. We've actually never watched them, I know. We tend to go to bed really, really early because of our early 3:30 a.m. Wake-up call. So I haven't actually been to them, but my nieces and nephews have gone to them, and they said they're absolutely fantastic, really, really informative, and they're on all different types of topics, different animals, history of the park, different species. So they're great for kids and families to go to as well. So I highly recommend that. Sanparks also organizes, it's called a bush braai, and a braai is a barbecue if you don't know. And you can go out, and they do a morning one, and they also do an evening one, so they'll take you out and make you breakfast, and they cook everything and prepare for you, and apparently it's quite fun and all traditional foods. Again, we have never done that. We always say we're going to do it, and we don't. Maybe this year I'll report back and let you know if we ended up doing one. But they organize activities, and the activities that I have done through Sanparks are always top notch, and they're super professional and definitely value for money. So to mention, they do morning, sunset, and night drives for the Sanparks ones. So another thing that we like to do is we will sometimes drive out and just sit at a watering hole for a little while. Sometimes it gets too hot because you can't just sit there with your car running, obviously. So we just sit and watch and see who comes. There's a couple of watering holes that have resident hippos, so they're always fun to sit and watch them and take photographs and all the interesting birds that arrive, and just to see all the comings and goings. So that's always kind of a fun thing to do, and you'll often see a lot of other vehicles sitting there and doing the same thing. Now, we have sometimes ventured outside of the park. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, my husband is an ex-South African and he's very reluctant to go outside of the park. We have had a few small incidents, nothing major, but a bit alarming. We had one where we were driving and along the highway and some kids had dug up the road, and so what they do is you crash, and then because you get stuck in this ditch in the middle of the road, and then they ransom you, making you pay them money to help you get you out. So yeah, it's not good, and that's an easy scenario. We also met some people that had driven up from Johannesburg. They were Americans, and they got pulled over by the police and had to pay a ransom as well. So it's a little, I don't know if ransom's the right word, a fine, or what, not a fine, but it wasn't an official ticket. They just said, you have to pay us money or else you can't go any further. So anyway, my husband really does not like driving outside the park unless absolutely necessary or if it's in a safe place. Now, two towns that we do travel to, one of them is called Malelane, and it's a nice, quaint little village. It's 2 seconds outside of the park. We've actually even stayed in a hotel out there called Pastana, had a wonderful experience. It's a lovely place, and we go grocery shopping in that town and never had any issues. I feel totally safe, and it's very, very nice. The other town that we have gone to is called the town of Hoedspruit, and it's a very touristy little town. There are tons of luxury safari camps and lodges around there, so they cater to visitors and tourists, so the crime rate is extremely low. We've never had any issues. So those are two towns that we enjoy going to. In Malelane, there is this really beautiful gift store. Well, there's two gift stores that are attached, and it's also a wonderful restaurant that we've gone to outside of the park. It's literally 2 seconds outside, and we've had wonderful meals. I love going to this particular gift store. They've got some lovely, unique handicrafts that are locally made and designed, and I just always enjoy going in there and just seeing some local things and purchasing them and supporting the local economy. And in Hoedspruit, that's that other town I mentioned, we've stayed in a luxury lodge around there called Kapama. I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's a totally different lodge and it has nothing to do with the Kruger Park. But if you're interested in seeing something about luxury lodges, I'd be happy to post a video on that. But we have gone to the spa in there, so if you want to go for a spa, I am a spa junkie snob. I love spas. I love the best spas. I love being pampered, and I will say hands down South Africa has had the best spas I have ever been to. I've gone for various treatments and they've all been outstanding. So I've gone to one at Pastana and I have been to several at Kapama, and they are just unbelievable and extremely reasonably priced. I know our money goes quite a ways with the currency exchange, so part of that is why it's not super expensive, but it's not as expensive as the spas that I have here locally in British Columbia. And they just knock the socks off them as well. And also you're out in the bush and they're just amazing. Their techniques and treatments are totally different than North American, and I highly recommend it if you're ever down there. We're going to be doing one at the Protea Hotel. I've never been there and I've never had a spa there, so I will report back. My husband and I are actually going to do a couples massage, and he won't really go to spas, but he went with me at Kapama and he said, oh my goodness, now I know what all the fuss is about. So he really enjoyed it, so he agreed to do another one when we go this time. So I highly recommend that. And also in the town of Hoedspruit, there's a couple of things that I also enjoy doing. There's a great grocery store there, by the way, called the Pick and Pay, and we do a lot of shopping in there. We also like to go to a little jeweler. It's called Gold of Africa. There's a fellow that works there. His name is Niels, and his jewelry is out of this world. And he actually redesigned my engagement ring not while I wait, but he did it in 2 days. If I was to have something done like that in Canada, I would have had to wait 6 weeks. He designed something. I used my own stones, but he designed something and made it for me, and it was absolutely spectacular. So that's this ring right here. He just does amazing things. I also got this beautiful tanzanite ring from there as well. He does beautiful things. It's a beautiful jewelry shop, and it's definitely a real treat to go there. And funnily enough, we're going to be there at Valentine's Day this year. So let's see what happens. So I highly recommend giving him a visit if you're looking for any unusual jewelry from South Africa. And he specializes in tanzanite, which I love. He has deep, deep, dark stones, not like the lavendery, light-colored ones that we get here. So it's a real treat. Another thing that we enjoy doing in Hoedspruit, or just sort of out of Hoedspruit, but in that same vicinity, is my husband came across a silk factory. And he said, I wonder if you'd enjoy going there for a day. So we went in there, and it's all silk products, and silk products for your home bedding, and we bought a silk duvet from there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. They sell lots of beautiful sheets and linens and all that kind of stuff, as well as silk body and skincare products. And so every year when we go, I always make a trip to the silk factory and purchase some lovely goodies. So it's called Gauding and Gauding, and on the same piece of property. It's weird, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the bush. You drive through this gate and you wind through this dirt road, and then you come across this silk factory. And they've actually now added a spa. I should probably mention that, but I haven't gone to it yet. And they also have this wonderful restaurant called the Cotton Club, and every year I always say we've got to go to the Cotton Club and go to this restaurant because it's just so fabulous. It's a small menu, but everything is homemade. They make the most gorgeous muffins, and every meal we've ever had from there is just top notch. And it's just in this little quaint spot. We sit outside. Sometimes we're the only people there, and it's just lovely, and we just really enjoy it, and we always make sure we go there every year. Another thing that we've done in that area is we've gone to 2 animal sanctuaries, like endangered species centers, and they're both fabulous, and I highly recommend both. One of them is the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Center, and the other one is the Mahalo Hollow. I can't remember the exact name, I'll link it below. Both outstanding. You get a tour of the facilities. They give you all this information on different animals and the animals that they have. They take in orphaned animals, injured animals, and rehabilitate them. We've seen cheetahs there. It is just wonderful, and I highly, highly recommend both of them if you can. Great place to take children, and a great activity to do for the afternoon for sure. I definitely recommend doing that. So another place that we have gone to that's outside of the park, and it's actually quite a ways from the park, but we had a tip to go there. It's called Pilgrim's Rest, and it's basically a little touristy town. It's really, really old-fashioned and quaint. And the first year we went, it was just amazing. We just loved it. It was just bustling with tourists, and everybody had these tables of handicrafts. And if you've ever been to Mexico, you know the bartering, and they're quite aggressive, and sometimes it can be a little bit irritating. Well, this actually took it to a whole new level. We were looking at the handicrafts, and I literally would just say, oh, well, that's quite nice, and walk on, and the next thing it's all wrapped up and packaged, and it's in a bag and handed to me, and then hand out for the money. So it was actually quite funny. Things were very inexpensive, and they were all really neat things, so we ended up buying most of it, but it was quite comical. And another thing that was also quite funny, but my husband's used to this kind of thing, but we got back to our car and somebody had washed it, and without asking us, and then standing there expecting money. So anyway, there's not much you can do at that point. So again, that's why I also mentioned to bring cash, because you just never know what's going to happen. I found it quite comical, and they did an excellent job. So what can you do? And we also had wonderful pancakes. We went to this really quaint, I still remember what I had. We went to this really neat little breakfast place, and we had pancakes. I had like crepes rolled, and they had maple syrup and whipping cream. It was just so fantastic, and I loved it. We did go there this last time, so probably a span of 8 to 10 years in between us going. And I was so disappointed. It was like a ghost town. It was unbelievable. I don't know what had happened, but everything had changed. There was no tourists there. It was just us and maybe a few other people just wandering around. I don't know if we just went on the wrong day. I don't know, but compared to several years ago, it was just bustling, and it was a really neat place, but there was none of those artisan stands or anything this time. But there was still quite a few of the quaint little shops, and it was kind of a fun little thing to do, but it was quite a drive, and so it just depends if that's something that you'd be interested in doing. It wasn't as good as it used to be, but again, it could have just been the day that we went. So typically, this is a vacation that you would just want if you want to unwind and relax. There isn't tons of things to do, especially inside the park, other than what I've mentioned. So if you're looking for something to unwind and relax and have a lot of downtime, kind of like camping really, then this is a perfect holiday for you. But you can add activities like the ones I've mentioned. We've even done an elephant safari when we were there. When we were staying at Kapama, they arranged that for us, and that was just outstanding. There was also a hot air balloon ride. I wasn't keen to do that. I just don't like that kind of thing. But it was like a very popular tourist attraction. So there are tourist attractions in and around the park. As I mentioned, that Hoedspruit town is kind of a hub of luxury safari lodges. So there's lots of activities going on there. But typically a safari is a relaxing holiday, with the exception of the early morning wake-ups. But there's lots of time in the afternoon to just relax and, play games, family time, and that kind of stuff. So we do really enjoy that. For me personally, as I mentioned, I'm a hustle bustle city girl, and I do enjoy a lot of activities. So that's why my husband takes me out once in a while to keep me happy. So it kind of is a bit of a balance for both of us. So it is a very relaxing time, and it's a wonderful experience, and I love all the animals, and you're definitely guaranteed to see tons of unique animals in their natural habitat, which is always wonderful to see. So anyway, I hope this helped you, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please click like, and if you want to see any more travel related videos, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're always up to date on all my latest videos. And of course, as I mentioned, if you have any questions at all, please leave them below, and I'll be sure to try and answer them, or at least point you in the direction of somebody who can. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.